Hello YouTube, it's been a while. So a couple weeks ago I saw a really good deal on a 2020 model year Honda 20 horse outboard motor with a long shaft. So it was basically a takeoff, and I paid cash for it, bought it, brought it home, and I figured it was going to be fairly easy to find a tall transom aluminum boat for it, like a 14, 15, 16 foot type, just open tiller boat. Put them together and make a nice little rig, right? So it's been about a month since I bought that motor. I've looked on Marketplace, Craigslist, Uncle Henry's, driven around, knocked on doors, talked to people, you name it, I've done it. They're either junk or very expensive or a short transom boat. So we are driving from the Lakes region in Maine over to Colebrook, New Hampshire. Guy listed a boat about 3 hours ago. He's gotten 50 messages for it since I messaged him, and we are heading there with cash in hand. We're going to buy this boat and put the motor and the boat together, and hopefully it works out. So I will update as we go here. So we're in Grafton Township, which is where Grafton Notch is. If anybody's from this area or has traveled to this area, this is an unbelievable area to, I don't know, snowmobile, ATV, walk, fish, do all the outdoor things. But I have never been here by car. I've rode my snowmobile through here, I don't know, 100 times anyway. So yeah, it's a ride, but it's very nice. One more thing about Grafton Notch area, in this whole area, Albany Township, Grafton Township, you name it. You see something, there's no telephone poles out here. So there's no power, there's no internet, there's definitely no 5G, 4G, 3G, none of that. You can't make phone calls, can't look at your internet. So if you're really into that whole being off the grid, this is definitely one of the places to come. But there's no houses. I haven't seen a house or nothing for 10 miles anyways. So yeah, it's cool up here. There's a lot of moose. I've seen a lot of moose up here just riding around on my sled. All right, next thing you'll see is probably Colebrook, New Hampshire. So this is the Dixville Notch State Park in New Hampshire, about 15 minutes outside of Colebrook. But I mean, this is pretty cool. Never been here before. Another destination, camping, fishing, all that stuff, state park. So, holy hell. That was incredible. People drive really fast on these roads out here in New Hampshire. Wow. Check that out. Okay, we're in Colebrook. Looks like the boat is right here. Yeah, that's it. So here we are in Colebrook. I bought the boat. Got absolutely soaked, but you can tell that it's never been in salt. Trailer is like brand new. Paint on it's pretty darn good. Interior is good. Transom, never been through bolted, which is nice. And it's a pretty strong transom. So yeah, it's gonna be a nice boat. Trailer lights don't work, but we're just gonna pretend like that never happened. This guy right here has a collection and a half of items. So if you're from Maine, you know that this is pretty normal, but if you're not from Maine, people from Maine like to collect things, whether it should be collected or not. And, you know, I respect it. I think it's great. There's a lot of things out there that shouldn't be thrown away. So, but yeah, we're in Albany Township. All right, so let's talk about this trailer. On the way home, I plugged the lights in at the guy's house. None of the lights worked that I saw, so I just said, well, it's still daylight. It'll be all right. No license plate and all. Should be fine. So I got home and further looked into that, and I have blown fuses in my truck in the past. So I looked right at my fuse box and I noticed I had 3 blown fuses. So it could have been from another trailer of mine. I do own a lot of junk. So I threw in 3 new fuses and blew them immediately. So having figured that out, I knew it was the trailer at that point. So I started looking from, obviously, the plug backwards. Kind of like took it apart a little bit, took a look at it, looked fine, and I just started going underneath the trailer, looking around. I actually pulled the lenses off and tested the bulbs to see if they were getting power. They were not. And then I hooked up my jumper pack to each individual post, which not the best of ideas, but I did. And you can see good, and then I melted the running lights in the plug slightly. So I knew that there was a problem with the running lights. So I then went to this spot, and this is like genius, right? So if you can see, let's see if I can get in there. Oh, right here. Focus. No, right here. You can see that the wires go under part of the frame of the trailer, and they're all smashed. So over the years, they finally wore through and grounded out to the frame of the trailer. So I went and cut the harness back and just butt connected everything together and taped it for now. I'll probably replace the harness at some point, but all the lights do work now, which, you know, for me, that's pretty good. I went around and all the tires were at like 20 PSI, filled them up, checked the lug nuts. This side was very tight. The other side all took some tightening. But other than that, it's a good trailer. So probably order a harness for it at some point when I'm feeling motivated, but for right now, it works. Okay, so we got the Honda motor mounted, through bolted with stainless steel hardware and some silicone. I got my good tank from my other boat with non-ethanol gas in it. So this motor primarily has had ethanol gas in it, and it just wasn't running too good because the gas that was in it was like 3 years old. So we're going to do the oil change and the lower unit and the filter, all that good BS. So we're going to get her fired up. It kind of stumbles a little bit because, again, that ethanol fuel is just not great, but there we go. Run a little better now. So yeah, we're going to let it run for quite a while here, get it warmed up, and then we're going to pull it into the garage and change the fluids. Okay, so here's the deal. Somebody before me boogered up all 3 drain plugs because they were using a regular Phillips head screwdriver or flathead, I don't know, in there. So they're all stripped out. Off video, I got them loose. So this is the correct screwdriver, or one of the correct screwdrivers to use, which is a JIS driver. You obviously have your end that you can put a wrench on, or you can put something on this. Gives you more leverage, so you're not stripping screws out. So we're going to replace all 3 gasket O-rings, whatever you want to call them, and 3 drain plugs along with our oil change. So all the hardware on this motor is 4 mil. 4mm driver. So it helps when you use one of these as opposed to one of them cheap Harbor Freight multi-packs with every size in it, because they're too short. So you can basically get into all the areas and get them out. So that's what we're going to do, is take these covers off. So we got our cover off. Got a drain pan up on a seat. Here's the completely boogered drain plug. We got a funnel, and we're just going to kind of, do that type of thing into there. That's it. All right, we got all the oil drained out. Wasn't the dirtiest, but I don't know the history of this motor, nor does the previous owner, for whatever reason. So we're just doing it to do it. This filter looks pretty much brand new, and I looked at the condition of the spark plugs, and they look to be brand new. Denso, not NGK. That's weird. I don't like that, but we're going to just put that back and pretend we didn't see it. So I'm going to pull this filter. Hopefully, oh, it's loose. Man. So we're going to just get a bunch of paper towels in there and kind of soak up all the oil that comes out of there. And we're going to get rid of this oil first so we don't knock it over all over the cement floor like, most times happens. Okay, so that worked pretty good. We didn't spill a drop. So I always like to wipe the surface that we're going to be putting a new filter on. Even though it looks absolutely perfect. Get all the gunk out of there if there's any, which there's none. And then Honda people, don't look. We're going to replace it with a Napa Gold, which is made by Wix. So that'll be all right. Let me just stick it right here, and then let's get some oil out of here. Wipe the gasket. Kind of hard doing this with one hand, but yeah, that's good enough. Plenty. Wipe my hand so we can crank on a little bit. All right, that's plenty. So I'll write the date on that so we remember when we did it, even though you're supposed to do it every year, but you know how things go. Okay, so we got the boat fairly level, well, the motor fairly level, the boat's not level, but we got it level enough that we can get a decent reading on the dipstick when we pull it. Got my initials and my date that's nice and crooked on the filter. So we're putting AMSOIL 10-weight-30 synthetic into this motor because, I don't know, it's a nice motor, I like it. And I think $14 for a quart of oil is, you're just paying for insurance, okay? Instead of putting your junk in there. All right, so next step is I like to take the bottom drain plug out first, because if you take the top one out first, you'll make a nice, venturi, suction, whatever you want to call it, and you'll make more of a mess than if you just leave it in and then take it out. So I like to take an air gun and just blow out where these are, just so we're not introducing unnecessary water. It's not a big deal. It's not going to hurt it. These things get water in them all the time, and they run for the whole season with water in them, and most times they end up just fine, which is crazy. But what you're going to be looking for is if there is water in this, and it will come out milky white, or you'll see water if it hasn't emulsified with the oil. So let's drain that and see what happens. All right, so the next step is putting gear oil in this thing. So I have another Honda outboard, and this is from that, so we're going to use that. This is like a nice little hand pump for a Mercury that does not fit this. So what I do is I just take this spout and I just hold it up to the bottom tight, and it works fine. You might spill a couple drops, but it's nothing. So you want to have both drain plugs out. You fill it from the bottom up because you don't want air to get trapped or whatever the science is behind that. Once it starts to come out here, you take that off, plug this up, plug that up, let it sit, and then I usually just pull the plug to make sure a little bit comes out later in the day. make sure it didn't settle or air or whatever, and then you're good to go. So this is what you'll end up with. If you do it pretty quick, you only spill a drop out of there and maybe a drop out of here, which I barely spilled anything out of the bottom. Once you plug that top and then take that plunger away, you might only lose a drop of oil, but the rest of the oil that's in that hose, I just take that nozzle and pump it right back into the bottle to save, you know, at least one pump. So I just always wipe off everything because I want to make sure it doesn't leak. And then I'll just tighten those up a little bit more, make sure they're tight. I like to make sure things are tight like 3 times before I'm satisfied. And then we're going to run this outside. All right, so what we're looking for here is we're going to run it up, get the oil filled with oil, power it down, check the oil, add some oil. So hopefully it fires right up. Oh, come on now. We're only going to run it for probably 30 seconds. Pull the plug, and let's pull it back in and check the oil. So this was up to the full line. Of course you can't see it, but it's all the way down at the add oil line. So we're going to add some more oil. Okay, so the oil's all topped off. I think it was like 1 1/4-ish. Anyways, let's get this cover back on. So before me, somebody wrote, purchase new 8/2013 at Hudson Marine, which is in Salisbury, Massachusetts. I wrote underneath what the oil filter is and the oil drain plug and the gaskets for the drain plugs. Don't judge the handwriting. It's kind of hard to write in there, but this is a good way to, you know, double check that you got the right shit, and makes your life a little bit easier in the future, and makes the next person's life a little bit easier in the future when they buy this thing. Hopefully we don't have to do the drain plugs again, because those are like $8 a piece for 3 little screws, which is dumb. But now that you know, I didn't strip them out, they should be good. All right, so we're putting in some junk trailer guides from Amazon. Should have known. On my other trailer, I put a nice set of trailer guides on it that have the crisscross bolts, and everything fits first try. Not so much with this. I thought it was the same kit. It's not the same kit. It looks very similar. The bolts don't crisscross. It's not possible, and they don't fit. And these holes, so it wants you to mount them like this, right? I looked at the directions. It says, yeah, mount them like that. Okay, that doesn't make any sense, because if you mount them like this, how are you going to secure it to the trailer? It doesn't make sense. So they have to go like this, and obviously that doesn't make sense either. So I tried to do it the other way, and the bolt holes don't line up. So this is, I filed this a little bit to see how far I could get with this metal, but this is how far we're off. So I'm going to drill a pilot hole and then drill out new holes and then do it, you know, what, four times. So that's cool. So that's what we'll do. All right, so this is the end result for now. I did put a transom saver on it. Forgot to record because I forget how to do YouTube, but these are super important to have on not so much this boat, but your bigger Lunds, your bass boats, things like that. But they're like $40, and you just drill one hole through the trailer and it's done. It takes 5 minutes to put it in, and it can save you thousands of dollars replacing your transom, especially a transom like this that is built into the boat. So rivets have to come out. It's a big job. It's not like a John boat where you can just replace the wood because it's exposed, but easy, no frills. Now these stupid things, I'm not really crazy about them, but for back in the trailer, they'll be nice. For getting the boat on the trailer, it'll be nice. They're good enough for the job that this is going to do. I think it looks fine. So other than that, we got to figure out some seats. Probably going to put one seat here, and then another seat here, and then I'd like to get a pad for here. I don't like a swivel seat back there because it just, with the tiller, it's kind of annoying. So I'd like to get a seat pad made for less than $300, but that seems to be the going rate. But I think this thing's ready to go out on the water now, that's for sure. So we'll recap this video with throwing this in the water. All right, so, you know, I like to think a lot, and I kind of kept looking at this, and I said, I should probably take that prop off and grease the shaft, and I really should replace this cotter pin, and finally enough thinking led me to the right answer, which is to take that off. I knew I had to. I just didn't want to, okay? So I'm going to take a pair of side cutters with a big chip out of the tip and cut this cotter pin out. Watch your eyeballs. And then basically just kind of force feed it through there somehow. I'll get it. All right, that was pretty easy. So now you're going to want to get this king nut or castle nut. I forget what it's called. I wouldn't recommend putting the boat in gear to like stop this prop. That's kind of a bad way to do it. So off camera, I'm going to just hold this prop and hopefully this comes right off. If not, we'll use a impact. Again, that was super easy. Got it all off. So we're just going to pull this prop, and that was nice of the person before me to grease that. So we're going to clean that all up, and we're going to clean the nut and the threads up here, probably with a little wire brush, just to get some of this rust out of here. This was used in the ocean, unfortunately, but not too much, so I'm not ultra concerned with it. This piece comes off too. This is a spacer. And you can inspect your shaft seal, dust seal, water seal, whatever it is, just to make sure that it's not leaking, which it is not. So now we are going to clean everything up and get some of this tan, whatever, marine grease back on it. Okay, so now that we got this greased, we are going to put the spacer on, and we will have to re-grease because this kind of pushes some of the grease down into this hole, which is fine. So we'll just add a little bit more grease, but basically that's the gist of that. Put it all back together and we'll tighten her up and put a new pin in. All right, so that's what that looks like, all done. Clean that nut up pretty good. Put a new cotter pin in. They say it's like 50 something foot-pounds for one of these, which sounds about right. So I hand tightened it and then gave it a little more, and that'll be fine. I've never had a problem with that. There's still, you know, a little bit of end play there, which is normal. I just used this Dorman pack of cotter pins I got somewhere at Napa, I think. So next we're gonna grease the rest of the grease fittings. We got one here, and then I think we have another one over here somewhere. Yeah, two over here. And that should be good for this, I think. I will double check on that though. Okay, so we're going to change the fuel filter on this. Kind of realized that I probably should, you know, trying not to do a hack job here. So we're going to change that fuel filter out. I got a new one right here. I think it was like 12 bucks or something like that, maybe 8 bucks, I can't remember. So we're gonna just swap that out real quick, and then we're gonna take this out. Okay, we're out here on the lake. That rattling noise you hear is these paddles. I took them out because I don't know this motor and I didn't want to be completely, you know, up the creek, no paddle, right? So there's forward. So I definitely got to adjust a few things on this boat, which is why we're out. I got the steering all the way locked tight, and it's a little too loose for my liking. I like a tight steering. This, I don't know if this works. Yes, it does. So once we get the steering locked the way I like, then I'll mess around with this, but I've been trimming the motor. Basically, I started all the way down, almost capsized the boat. We didn't like that. And then we kept trimming it up until we had really good steering. So that's been working out pretty good. So we are just cruising out here. Beautiful day, about 75 degrees. So I'd say this unit's good to go. Complete. All right, well, the first test drive was pretty good. Got some of the weird kind of trim issues figured out. I'm probably gonna buy a 60 or 70 pound sandbag to throw in the front for when I'm alone, which is most times. So that's what we're gonna do for that. Then as far as trimming it, I think we're good. There's not really anything else I can do because it's really kind of specific, but that is in the trailer position right now, just for when I pull it out of the water over here. But overall, it doesn't leak, so that's a plus for sure. That's gonna close out this boat series.